Welcome back to the deep dive. We are diving headfirst into a story with everything: politics, money mysteries, and even Elon Musk.
Sounds intriguing.
You see, Senator Bernie Sanders, he recently made headlines, agreeing with Elon Musk.
An unlikely duo? What about?
It's about a shocking revelation, really. The Pentagon, they failed their audit.
Oh, I remember hearing something about that.
Not just once, 7 times in a row.
7? Wow.
7 consecutive audits, and the Department of Defense has a big fat F on their financial report card.
That's not good. Especially when you're talking about a budget of, what is it, $886 billion?
Exactly. That F takes on a whole new meaning. So what does it even mean? For an organization as giant as the Pentagon to fail an audit like this?
Well, it's not like they just lost a few receipts, right? We're talking about a whole different scale here.
Right. What are we talking about then?
It's way more complicated than just misplacing receipts. It's like to audit the Pentagon, right? You're not just checking their bank statement.
Yeah.
You're literally trying to track trillions of dollars through this huge maze of contracts and classified projects, global operations.
It's mind-boggling to think about, honestly.
It really is.
It'd be like trying to track every dollar you spent over 7 years, like trying to untangle a giant plate of spaghetti.
After it's been dropped on the floor.
Exactly. And Sanders, he said the Pentagon, well, they've lost track of billions.
Right, and a failed audit doesn't automatically mean theft,
Okay.
but it definitely points to some serious issues, systemically, I mean.
So where did all the money go then, if it's not outright theft?
Well, think of it this way. Imagine a giant ship with a tiny leak.
Okay, I'm following.
Even a small leak over time can drain a massive amount of water.
Right.
So in the Pentagon's case, those leaks, they could be bureaucratic inefficiencies, misallocation of funds, maybe just bad record keeping.
So death by 1,000 paper cuts, essentially.
In a way, yeah. But we're still talking billions of dollars here.
That's a lot of paper cuts. Do you have any examples, like real-world stuff, what this kind of waste could look like?
Absolutely. We were actually looking at some discussions on the Elon Musk subreddit.
Oh, interesting.
One story in particular kind of caught our eye. It involves something called a spendex.
A spendex.
Yeah, it stands for spending exercise, apparently. It's a common thing in the Army.
A spendex. That sounds more like, I don't know, a workout routine or something, not a financial strategy.
Well, it is a workout routine, in a way, for their budget. See, if they don't spend their entire budget by the end of the year, their funding for the next year might get cut.
Oh, I see. Use it or lose it kind of thing.
Exactly. If they didn't spend it, the logic is they don't need it.
Makes sense on the surface, but how does that lead to waste?
Well, one Redditor said it creates this weird incentive to blow through the remaining funds, even if it means doing wasteful stuff.
Okay, so like splurging on office supplies they don't need, or something like that.
Think bigger, like way bigger. This Redditor, he claimed his unit would literally fire off thousands of rounds of ammunition just to use it up.
Wait, what? They just fire off ammo into the desert?
That's what he said, to avoid doing the inventory,
Seriously?
apparently. And he said this one spendex cost them, get this, over $14,000 just in ammo.
Wow.
And that's not even counting the fuel, supplies, the personnel time.
So it's not just about lost paperwork. The system itself encourages this waste. That spendex story really drives that home. But how does Elon Musk fit into all this? Why is Sanders saying Elon Musk is right? What's Musk even said about the Pentagon's budget?
Well, we don't have the exact quote from Musk,
Okay.
but we can look at his reputation. He's known for being super focused on efficiency, cost cutting, especially with Tesla and SpaceX.
Yeah, he's all about doing more with less, finding those creative solutions, streamlining processes.
Right.
So I can see why Sanders, who's been, critical of big military spending forever, would agree with Musk on this.
Yeah. They both seem to think the Pentagon could use a little bit of that Musk efficiency magic.
Makes sense. But the big question is, could someone like Musk, coming from the private sector, actually change how the government spends money? And what would that even look like?
Now, that's where things get interesting.
Yeah.
Because some people, they love the idea of Musk getting involved.
Right.
But others, not so much.
They're a little skeptical.
Yeah. Some people on Reddit, they're worried that Musk might just, prioritize his own companies if he gets involved, like SpaceX.
Ah, so it's a potential conflict of interest. That makes sense. He is a businessman, after all.
Right. It's fair to ask if he'd really be doing it for the right reasons or just to help his own companies.
Yeah, that's a great point. It seems like there's more to uncover here. especially when it comes to Musk's motives and the politics of changing how the military spends money. But we'll have to dig into that a bit later. It's interesting, this whole thing about Pentagon spending and conflicts of interest. Like, if Elon Musk got involved with all his companies and everything, could he really put the country first?
It is a tough question.
Ah,
I mean, on one hand, there's Musk, track record of innovation, efficiency, right.
right.
He could really shake things up at the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Maybe get rid of some of that bureaucracy.
He's not afraid to challenge how things are done, which is what the Pentagon seems to need.
Exactly. But then there's the other hand. His companies, like SpaceX, they already have these big government contracts.
So some people might say he just wants to get more contracts for his own companies
Mhm.
when he talks about efficiency.
Yeah, there's that cynical view. But we can't forget, Musk's been pretty vocal, criticizing government waste, not just in the military, but everywhere.
True. He's definitely not shy about speaking his mind, especially on Twitter.
Exactly. So it's good to be skeptical, look at things from all sides, but I think it's a little early to just dismiss him completely.
Yeah, that's fair. But let's shift gears a bit. Look at the bigger picture. Sanders also mentioned only 13 senators voted against the defense budget last year. That's not many, considering all the issues we've been talking about.
Right. It really shows you the power of this, well, what Sanders calls the military-industrial complex.
That term, it's been around for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, President Eisenhower actually coined it. He warned about, the defense industry getting too powerful and its ties to the government.
So it's not just the Pentagon itself. It's this whole web of contractors, lobbyists, politicians, all benefiting from the high military spending.
Exactly. And they have a lot of influence in Washington. I mean, they have the money to fund campaigns, the connections to influence decisions.
So even if people want to be more responsible with spending, this military-industrial complex makes it almost impossible to actually change anything.
It's a huge obstacle. It really explains why, even when there's clear evidence of waste, like those failed audits, there's still no real political will to fix things.
It's like they're playing by a different set of rules. Accountability and transparency, those don't seem to apply to them.
It's a dangerous situation. Definitely. It really makes you wonder, how do we break this cycle of unchecked spending and no accountability?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think a big part of it is public perception. How do everyday people see military spending? Do they even know about these audit problems? And how much money is potentially being wasted?
That's where things get even trickier. There are so many misunderstandings about military spending, so much misinformation.
Yeah, like on that Elon Musk thread, some people are mixing up cuts to the defense budget with cuts to veteran benefits.
That's a perfect example. It's this kind of misleading talk that shuts down any real debate about responsible spending. People get scared to even question things because they don't want to seem unpatriotic or like they're against veterans.
Yeah, it's a powerful tactic. It plays on people's emotions.
It really does.
Yeah.
And it shows how much we need to have a smarter conversation about defense spending. We have to be able to separate what's really needed for national security from the stuff that's just wasteful or inefficient.
We need to be able to talk about this honestly, openly, without all the fear-mongering and partisan politics.
Exactly. It's not about being pro-military or anti-military. It's about being pro-accountability, pro-transparency, pro-using taxpayer money responsibly.
So how do we move forward? How do we get past the politics and the apathy and actually make real changes? It's like we're looking at this huge knot. Bureaucracy, special interests, public opinion, all tangled up. How do we even start to untie it?
It's definitely a big challenge, but I do think there are things we can do to move towards a system that's more accountable, more efficient.
Okay, so let's talk solutions. What can we do as individuals, to actually make a difference? It's easy to feel overwhelmed. Like one person can't change anything when it comes to the Pentagon budget.
I get that. I really do. But even small actions, they can make a difference. Trust me. First thing, you got to go deeper than just the headlines.
Yeah, get the full story.
Exactly. Look at different sources like that Elon Musk thread we talked about. The more you know, the better you can, advocate for change.
Knowledge is power. But what do we do with that knowledge?
Well, speak up. Tell your representatives what you think about Pentagon spending. They need to know that people care about transparency, about accountability.
So even just sending an email or making a phone call can help.
Absolutely. Especially if they start seeing a pattern. A lot of people raising the same concerns.
Right. Power in numbers.
Exactly. And you can support organizations, too. The ones that are trying to reform the whole defense budgeting process, pushing for responsible spending. There are a lot of groups doing really good work. They need all the support they can get.
So we can contact our representatives, support those organizations, and of course, educate ourselves and spread the word.
That's a great start, because it all begins with awareness. When you understand this issue, really understand it, then you can start having better conversations with your friends, family, whoever.
Right, change those conversations, break down those myths, like cutting the defense budget doesn't mean we're abandoning veterans.
Exactly. We need to move past those oversimplified ideas and really think about what defense even means today in the 21st century.
And what it means to spend responsibly. It's our money, after all, taxpayer dollars.
It is. Every dollar wasted on bureaucracy or outdated programs, that's a dollar that could go towards something else, something that actually helps people. Education, healthcare, infrastructure.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, the missing billions, the chances for reform, and even what we can do to make a difference.
The Pentagon failing those audits over and over. It's a huge red flag. It's time for all of us to start talking about this, seriously talking about how our money's being spent.
And it might seem daunting, but we can't just ignore it. We have to demand better. Transparency, accountability, responsible spending from our government.
You've got the information now. Thanks to this deep dive, now it's time to do something with it.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. Keep that conversation going.